to all of you for inviting me. Diwali. We just have 7 days for Diwali, which is the biggest festival in India. I'm sure all of you have plans of buying a new house, or you've already bought it this year. You have a plan to buy a new equipment. Could be a mobile, could be a laptop, could be any gadget that you're looking at. And this is a custom that usually we try to figure out what is something new that we are purchasing this year when we have this festival. And I think what is important is to look at when we are buying, what is the purchasing decision that you have. I'm sure you look at affordability. I'm sure you look at features. You look at the cool factor when you buy a new phone or a gadget or anything that you buy. But I think what is important is to look at and figure out what is the environmental cost of this product that you're actually buying. What is the take-back mechanism of the product that you're actually discarding? Look at your toothbrush. I'm sure we use it every day, twice a day. Where did actually these toothbrush went away? It's not seen anywhere. From your bins, it just lands up somewhere. Where do they actually reach out? Next 10 minutes, we're just going to focus on approaches, discussion on the global trade flows, and also looking at what India as a country could actually do and deliver. If you look at, coming back to the example, if you're actually buying any electronic gadget, I'm sure you get something in a box which has a lot of packaging material, so forget about the packaging. Let's just talk about the chargers. Let's just talk about the headphones, which you buy. If you buy every 2 years a mobile phone, look at your drawers and desks and almirahs. You will find at least 5 or 6 of chargers, from the old phones to the today, and of course the laptop chargers and all of that. Batteries. We have no solutions. And for innovators and a lot of people as engineers present here, we are already looking at a shift in the market. There is a concept of universal chargers. And why is it that innovators actually started looking at it? Because of course it's about materials that we have when we make these products. What is the kind of ferrous, non-ferrous, rare earths that are consumed when these products are manufactured? That's how the concept of universal chargers actually reduces the quantity of materials that we can actually reduce when we are buying the products. So think about when you next buy a new electronic. Coming back to the question, a lot of things that you see here are not available in the market. We shifted from CFLs, from incandescent bulbs to CFLs. From CFLs, we moved to LED lamps, very, very energy efficient, but we don't even know where these bulbs, which were contaminated with mercury, which had a phosphor coating, dry cell batteries, all of us use it. Even in the villages, 15-20 years to run a radio, we need a dry cell batteries. Not even a single recycler in this country who's actually recycling and taking it back. Forget about the intrinsic value of these products. Look at the toxicity that it brings together. Where are they discarded? Agricultural farms, rivers, ponds, because there's no take back. Imagine your old two-wheeler. What did you actually do? These are questions that we should always ask when we are buying these products, and of course when we are discarding. The story just remains. A lot of it is mixed, a lot of it actually goes to the dump site, a lot of it is actually downcycled. In India, when we talk to any expert, they will say, oh, we have a very high percentage of recycling rates in India. We are doing pretty good when you compare to any Europe, US or any other country globally. But are we looking at recycling as a value, or are we looking at downcycling? I have visited a lot of landfills across in different cities. Look at Gazipur. It is an urban mine, but in India, thanks to our kabadiwalas, thanks to our informal sector, who go every door to door to actually collect dry waste, wet waste and several other volumes of waste. And they of course recover, recycle as much as possible. Whether we call that as upcycling or downcycling, that's something we should park as an idea and come back. But this is what the story is, that a lot of times the waste is dumped, recovered by the informal sector in whichever way possible they do it with traditional methods, risking their own life and risking the environment, polluting the environment the way it is. And of course, there is a loss of resources. An informal sector recycles a precious, like a printed circuit board, which any laptop or a mobile would have. They recover, they recycle aluminum, they recycle copper, they recycle precious metals. And maybe the gold that we are actually using is from the old mobile phone. And that is what the story is all about. That how do you actually create an efficiency into this entire system? Where do you look at these resources rather than looking at mining it from the virgin mines? The photograph in the middle is something which is actually really scary, because this is something in all my discussion till now over the last 10 years on electronic waste, I had never seen a single electronic component or a mobile ever landing into the Ghazipur or any other landfill site that we actually look at. But this is what I recently just found in one of my parks, a LED television which was discarded. Because as consumers, we really don't think about, we really don't have a channel to discard the materials in the right volume or the chain. And this is what is something that we really need to think about changing as a practice. Our resources are shrinking. India is the third largest manufacturer of cement production globally. Look at our limestone deposits, a key material that we need when we need cement. 70% of our buildings still need to be constructed, but we don't have soil, we don't have land, we don't have limestone, which is our major material, after 2050. What is the approach that we are going to take in terms of these shrinking resources? Because resources are not infinite. They are scarce, they are critical, and our current dynamics, our current the way we are producing and the way we are consuming, we would actually require 3 more Earths to fulfill the growing needs of our population, the growing needs of us as Asian consumers, as well as because we have, by 2050 projections, we will have 9 billion population on this Earth. How are we going to sustain? We will not have an option to have 3 Earths. We just have an option to sustain and retain the way the economy is functioning currently. So of course the answer is a lot of companies, industry, government, worldwide, we have SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. We're actually looking at approaches for growing sustainably. We are looking at how do you actually make the approaches, transition, the Paris Agreement, the energy transition is looking at growing sustainably, growing with equitable resources, and looking at something where we need to rethink and look at how do you actually produce and consume when it comes to these materials. For instance, coming back on steel and aluminum, which is our major materials when it comes to any component, any infrastructural growth that we need. Look back again, what happens to the slag? What happens to the byproducts that are remaining? Because right now we characterize them as waste. It is considered to be a burden by the industry, by the government. It is to be considered as an opportunity, and we need a lot of innovation in this space to happen. Green energy solutions, coming back to the Paris Agreement. Of course, we have a target to fulfill when it comes to the Paris Agreement. Renewable energy is key, crucial for this energy transformation. But coming back to this question of rare earths, both wind energy, solar, which are our 2 major areas of the energy transition, they are the materials, they are the material passports. They actually have rare earths, neodymium, diosporium, copper, glass, silica. There are no approaches, no recyclers. As we compare to a dry cell battery, today to the end-of-life solar panels, we don't have recyclers coming up. We don't even have a regulation of where do we actually put this, into which characteristic of the regulations in India which will characterize these wastes. Because this is not foreseen. When we were looking at these commitments and binding agreements, we were not actually looking at how will we transform the economy when we need to fulfill the demand for these products in the next 20-30 years. And in the entire story, what is it that we are missing? The economy, of course, requires growth, investments, technology, quality goods. This is very important that we actually design products which have a cradle-to-cradle approach. And they don't look at end of life with 2 years, 3 years, or with planned obsolescence that we have currently. So of course, we need to look at our production volumes, where currently a lot of materials, green energy, vehicles, automobiles, anything that you actually name today, we have, other than the major materials, rare earths is something that we are actually importing. Solar panels is what we are importing. So can we change the practice of actually moving to an economy where we're actually shifting this entire dialogue? So our usual economy is a take, make, produce society, consuming, maybe green products as well, but we discard a lot of waste. So can we look at closed loop as an economy where we retain the technical value of the materials as much as possible? We think about shifting a pattern and a practice. We look at designing out wastes and pollution. We look at extending the technical or the product value in the inherent loops as such, and we shift the system. But the bad news is, even after a lot of discussion, policies globally, and a lot of company investments, we are only 9% circular, which means any product, any material that we have, 91% of it is actually wasted currently. Because for a lot of examples that I already mentioned, we need to make the shift, but we need to make it in a sustainable manner. Resource extraction, we need to replace the mining of the virgin materials with more and more options and alternatives to actually look at secondary resources. And to define secondary resources, what we currently call as waste. Can we call them as secondary resources and categorize and call them as byproducts or resources to be used? The design is the most crucial stage, and we already heard something in the morning. Design is where a lot of innovation needs to happen. We don't need to design products which have a life of 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. We need to look at systemic optimization of the entire value chain. Textiles is making a huge shift. Steel is looking at using the blast furnace slag as a composite for cement sector. Now these two sectors need to work together, and there are many more examples where we need more and more collaboration. The systemic design, of course, looks at innovation. It also looks at enhancing the product life, product longevity, and of course minimizing resources. Many times an entire dialogue on circular economy looks at waste recycling, which is not the case. We need to look at product innovation, and we need to look at minimizing resources hand in hand, and then address the end of life cycle, which is the recycling stage itself. There are many examples, starting from the mining stage to many more. Economic instruments, policy instruments, innovators like you all across the globe are actually working to enhance resource efficiency, circular economy shifts. For instance, Norway offers legal guarantees with replacements of semi-durable and durable products. Imagine you buy a footwear and you get a 10 years warranty for that. Would you look at that as an option? Yes, I think that's where we need to bring a change. If the government is promoting a take back or supporting a repair as a market, that is where a lot of innovation happens when the policy is designed. iFixit allows repair and refurbishment. If I have an option of actually getting my fitness band, because my daughter is very much interested to have fitness bands, she has 2 of them. One of them is just 2 or 3 months old and it's actually not functioning. Can I get it refurbished and still make it extend its life and use it? That's where we need innovation, and that's what is happening with iFixit as an example. Fairphone, modular designs. Can we actually look at assemblies? Can we look at selling goods which are modular, so that you can actually just replace the part that is not functioning rather than replacing an entire phone? Of course, maybe a little cool factor. Looking at selling light or any product as a service. We don't need to sell products as such. We need to look at selling services. Similarly, you go to any hotel nowadays, there are refillable bottles, there are hotel toiletries which are replaced with refillable, so that you actually reduce the plastics that's entering the oceans. Sweden has encouraging more and more repairs by introducing 50% taxes on repair as a market. This is where we need to look at India as an example. Real car, kind of collaboration between Jaguar and Novelis. Imagine your old aluminum cans is a material for a new car which Jaguar is manufacturing with Novelis, which is one of the aluminum recycler. This is where the innovation happens. And these are not the global stories. A lot of innovation is happening in India already. There are entrepreneurs, there are innovators who are actually working with the kabadiwalas to look at the recycling, look at IoT, or look at technology as a platform. And of course, on the policy, we have a huge shift. There is a resource efficiency draft policy which the Indian government is doing on the life cycle thinking. So the change is needed, and I think all of you as designers, as architects, as builders need to think about engaging, and I think especially we need the youth and us as the millennials or as the next generation to actually think about what is the future that we are giving out to our future generations. What is it that we leave back? Do we leave an issue? Do we leave a scarcity? Do we leave critical materials? Or do we actually innovate and think about how do we enhance our practices which are more inclusive and circular in our approaches? So wish you all a very happy Diwali, and I also wish you, in case you haven't purchased an electronic, just ask and just look at what is your take back, what is your disposal mechanism. Thank you.